cannot join us now. Y bienvenidos a todos. ¿Cómo están ustedes?
Bien,
Muy bien.
¿Están bien?
bien, gracias.
Magnífico. Ok. Bueno, vamos a empezar. Vamos a practicar con muchísimas cosas hoy. We're going to practice with lots of stuff today. Y vamos a empezar. I am going to start, even though we've got maybe a couple people still joining us in a couple of minutes. Muy bien. Vamos a empezar con algo de un poquito de traducción. I'm going to try to make my screen bigger before I share it here. I've got the craziest thing, my screen. On some screens, I have to enlarge it to make it bigger. On other screens, I have to ask it to make it smaller to make it bigger. I have not figured that out yet. Okay. Aquí vamos. Here we go. We're going to be pairing up some interrogatives, who, what, when, where, why kind of words, and verbs. And these are going to be typical things. So we got a few more folks coming in. These are going to be typical things that folks might need for just your typical, you know, asking questions out and about. Aquí, where do I buy a t-shirt? Where do I buy a t-shirt? ¿Cómo se dice where? What's the where word? One of our questions. Donde. And you want to know this for yourself. So we're going to conjugate the verb for yo. Where do I buy? ¿Dónde?
¿Dónde
Compro
una camiseta?
una camiseta. ¿Dónde compro una camiseta? ¿Dónde compro una camiseta? ¿Dónde compro una camiseta? You know, you want to get a t-shirt kind of thing. So you're asking about. Okay. A ver, bueno, how much does the t-shirt cost? Now that's the second step. Now, costar gets a UE kind of thing. So what I am going to tell you, in case you don't remember it from our prices kind of practice, is that verb is going to be kind of a special thing. That O of costar becomes a UE.
Oh.
And we're talking about the t-shirt costing, okay? So I can't conjugate this for yo, because I don't. Yeah, sí, cuánto, how much? ¿Cuánto?
¿Cuánto una camiseta cuesta?
Cuesta. Cuesta.
¿Cuánto cuesta?
Sí, cuesta, sí. ¿Cuánto cuesta? ¿Cuánto cuesta la camiseta? ¿Cuánto cuesta la camiseta? So what I want you to notice about question formation is that in Spanish, when you have a question word, that'll always lead off the question, but then the verb always follows up right afterwards. Okay, so it'll be question word, verb, question word, verb.
I have a question.
Nora, sí, dime.
My notes from earlier in the month have quanto and quanta, and I have masculine and feminine. And since camiseta is feminine, why wouldn't I say quanta?
Ah, okay. Okay, buena pregunta. What a good question that is. How much does it cost? The how much word is usually just cuantos. Sometimes it goes into a feminine form, not that often. The cuantos word often goes into, yeah, why is it not feminine?
Maybe that was on some video that just was really.
It was on some video. Okay, on some occasions, if the word cuanto is paired up with a noun, then it will go into feminine, but it's asking how much does it cost? So it's just the masculine form. You'll hear cuanto more often just as cuanto.
Okay.
Putting it into a feminine form is not as often. Un ejemplo, ¿cuánto dinero tienes? How much money do you have? I can't come up with right now immediately a feminine word.
I'll
There
just
are
put my
times,
notes, don't
there
use
are
it.
times when cuanto will go into a cuanta feminine form. But not that often compared to the
Okay.
other ones. But cuantos and
Forget it.
cuantas frequently do switch around. Okay, and now we've got a do you guys have, and we don't have a question word. So when we don't have a question word, a who, what, when, where, why, when we don't have a question word, then the verb is going to move up front. Okay, so if I'm going to use tener, and I want to say
Sí.
you guys have,
Tienen.
Tienen.
sí,
Tienes.
exacto.
Sí.
Exacto, muy bien. Tienen ustedes zapatos aquí. You guys have shoes here. Tienen ustedes. And they may even drop the ustedes. If they're looking you straight in the eye, you know, if you're looking somebody straight in the eye, then often the ustedes gets dropped. So don't be surprised if people drop that word ustedes. Okay.
But how do you write it? It's just like when you answer the question in writing, do you have to mention the ustedes? Because I don't mention that. I didn't write it down.
Oh,
Just tienen.
no. Often the ustedes gets dropped. Quite often
Okay.
it gets dropped. Yeah, quite often. People may put it in if they're not sure. They're only going to put it in usually if they're kind of not sure that you understand it, speaking to them.
Okay.
Or, you know, they want to be like super emphatic, but yeah. Okay. Oh, can we have coffee here? Can we have coffee here?
Podemos
tomar.
podemos tomar café.
Tomamos, sí, tomamos
Tomamos.
un café aquí o tomamos café aquí, sí. Okay,
What about
tomamos.
podemos? Can we say podemos or tomar un
Podemos.
café aquí?
Yes, you can do that as well. Yes, and I am kind of, I am simplifying this a little bit for the people who have not had poder, because we've got a whole bunch of people in here who haven't had poder yet. We're going to do a review of poder pretty soon, but sí, podemos tomar is another way we can use that. Exacto. To put in the can word specifically. Sí, I'm having a beer.
Toma una cerveza or toma cerveza?
And toma would mean he's having, like one other person is having.
Toma.
Tomo.
Tomo una cerveza, tomo una cerveza, sí, exacto. Will you have coffee with me?
¿Tomas un café conmigo?
Exacto, muy bien. And of
Yep.
course, which you use depends on how well you know that person. It could be toma un café conmigo. It could be toman ustedes. If you have a bunch of people, you know, then it's a plural you, right? Like down here, toma usted.
Can
It
we
could
use
be-
quieres tomar un café conmigo?
You could use a quieres. For people who are newer, this word quieres tomar, means specifically, do you want? Do you want to have? Okay, do you want to have? So you can use quieres together with tomar. And when you do that, the second verb tomar goes into an infinitive. That can, yeah, that's another way we can use to express that. Sí, está bien. There are lots of options that you have, right? The options that you have, you know, there's always more than one way to express an idea, or there's often more than one way to express an idea. So we can do that too. Fantástico. Okay. ¿Alguna pregunta? Any other questions?
Yes. I still have a question about number 2, about the co-star. Actually, my my answer here is, I don't know if this is correct. ¿Cuánto una camiseta costa?
Well, okay. So 2 things. Word order, when you when you ask a question, the verb will always move way, way, way up.
Oh,
It'll always, but because you have a question word, the word how much, okay? Cuánto always leads off, and then the verb will be right after, and we have to conjugate that verb. So I cannot say cuánto costar, how much to cost. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. If in the process, you know, you're in the moment and you just can't think of how to conjugate a verb, and you're in the moment and you've got to speak, and obviously you're not going to write it down because now you're in front of somebody and you've got to get that word out, right?
yeah.
Will they get the idea if you say it as cuánto costar? What they will hear from you is how much to cost. How much to cost the t-shirt. They'll get the idea, but you know, it'll sound like it does in English. How much to cost the t-shirt? Okay, so it'll sound a little odd to them.
Okay.
But will they get the general gist, the general idea of what you need to know? Yeah, they'll get the general gist of it. They'll get the general idea.
Okay.
But
it's not the right one. It's not the right one. Like,
but
perfect
cuánto
one.
cuesta? Cuánto
Okay.
cuesta? How much does
Okay.
it cost? Now, costar is a nice verb to know how to use, because costar really only gets 2 conjugations, even though formally it's got all those conjugations. But we only talk about one thing costing something, or a bunch of things costing something. So if you want to ask, let's say you're asking about, you know, apples, and you want to know how much the apples cost, then it's cuánto cuestan las manzanas, cuánto cuestan las manzanas. So effectively, you only hear cuesta for one thing costing, or cuestan with an N at the end for a bunch of stuff costs. And those are the only 2 you hear for costar. So costar is always a good verb to know how to use. It's either cuesta for one thing cost, or cuestan, a bunch of things like manzanas. Or, oh, wait, zapatos, shoes. You've always got 2 shoes, right? So it's always cuánto cuestan los zapatos, how much do the shoes cost? Because it's a pair, right? And you need to have the plural one for that. Es buena pregunta. Okay.
Marilyn,
Tomás.
if you were going to be saying groceries, so you're at the checkout, so would it be cuestan then, because it's plural? You're buying a whole set of different things.
You know, I would probably cuánto cuesta. How much does cuánto cuesta todo? Todo
Okay.
means everything.
Okay, got it.
And everything, oddly enough, todo, the word todo, T-O-D-O, todo, means everything, but it's singular. How weird. ¿Cuánto cuesta todo? ¿Cuánto cuesta todo? Yeah. When you're done running it all off the belt, right? ¿Cuánto cuesta? How much does it all cost? Sí.
Yes.
Eso es.
Otra pregunta.
Sí, sí.
Zapatos has no article in front of it, and yet cafe and cerveza have an article in front of the noun. When do you decide to use it or not use it?
Sí, depende. That kind of depends on a lot of stuff. It depends on what verb you're using it with. It'll depend on a number of things. I wouldn't get too hung up on the article thing at this point.
Would it be correct?
But if you're
not-
asking about this thing, you're going to use the article. How much
Okay.
do the shoes cost? You know, you want like these shoes, and it's a specific pair, because you don't want to tell them, hey, sell me any old thing, because you want the ones that fit and they look like this, and you know, this particular type of shoe. So that's indicating a definite item,
Okay.
right? But if I'm having a coffee, it's a cup of coffee.
Not specific.
Yeah, and
Less
that's not,
specific.
yeah, it's just
Got it.
a cup. Hey, pour me another cup. It's
Yeah.
pretty general, yeah. Un café, un café. Bien. Bueno, y más, ¿o no? Ya no, not yet. Okay, muy bien. Vamos a practicar. We're going to practice a little bit with our utensilios, our utensils. So we're going to go off into some small groups to do this utensilio thing. I'm going to share the pictures with you now because we're going to take a look at all of these. Vamos a ver, vamos a ver. Tenemos y vamos a practicar la pronunciación. Son cosas muy prácticas. These are really practical things because they're things that you use around your house all the time, right? And if we're going to talk about what you do in a normal day and what kind of stuff you use when you're fixing food around the house, these would be normal items we would talk about. Son cosas normales, cosas cotidianas, everyday things, ¿sí? Tenemos la nevera, ¿sí? La nevera, la nevera. Hay muchas palabras para refrigerator. Y depende de la región. En realidad, depende de la región. Hay países, hay regiones donde se usa el término el refrigerador o el refri. I even hear people shortening that to refri. Like we say fridge, right? Instead of refrigerator, refrigerador. But there are a lot of countries, especially Latin American, where they do like la nevera. La nevera. So I like to use that one up front. La nevera. I think that's a little more common. La nevera, la nevera. El sartén, and this is another odd word where some countries use el sartén and others use la sartén. And there's no reason for me to give you that except it's just a usage thing. In Spain, I do know they use la sartén more. No importa mucho. It doesn't really matter all that much whether you say el sartén or la sartén. Pero skillet, something that's a flat cooking surface, a skillet is sartén. Sartén, ¿sí?
Sartén.
Muy importante, el cuchillo, cuchillo, knife. El cuchillo. El cuchillo es para cortar. Para cortar. It's for doing what? Para cortar.
Cutting.
Cutting, exacto, ¿sí? El sartén es para freír. Freír, to cook. Or to fry, más específico. Freír, it's for frying, ¿no? Es para freír, es para cocinar. We could use a more general verb, cocinar, to cook. Es para cocinar, es para freír, ¿sí? La estufa. La estufa, aquí, estufa es stove. So this is your cooktop. La estufa, ¿no? La estufa es para cocinar. Es para cocinar. La licuadora. Licuadora. It's a liquidator. La licuadora. ¿Sí? Es para mezclar. Mezclar es for mixing. ¿Sí? Mezclar. Sí, frutas, vegetales y frutas, sí. Eso es, I'm looking, así, aquí, la olla. La olla. Olla would be any kind of a large cooking pot. Okay. Anything that's a large cooking pot. Sartén is specifically for frying, usually because it's flat. Pero olla, an olla can be a smaller size than this, but it's a deep cooking pot, right? A pot is la olla. Aquí la cuchara.
La cuchara.
La cuchara. Cuchara es spoon. La cuchara. La cuchara. Entonces tenemos el microondas.
El
Microondas.
Microondas. Microondas.
Microondas.
Microondas is microwave. Ondas, the last half of that word, ondas, is wave, like a wave in the ocean. Ondas.
Ondas.
Microondas is microwave, el microondas. And it's always listed with an S at the end. Even though it's a onesie thing. El microondas, because it cooks with microwaves. So it's always listed as el microondas.
El microondas.
El microondas. Okay?
Microondas.
A real formal word is el horno, oven. El horno
Horno.
de microondas, but everybody uses it as microondas. So here's the horno part, which is not microondas, right? A conventional oven, right? Just like the plain old oven where you bake your cookies or your turkey or anything big like that. El horno.
Horno.
El horno.
El
El
horno.
horno. El horno es para cocinar, es para hornear. There is a verb that means to bake. Hornear. Hornear.
Hornear.
Hornear. Y puedo añadir, I can add here the verb. The verb that would mean bake es hornear. Hornear. ¿Sí?
Yeah.
Bien. Y aquí por fin tenemos el lavaplatos. And just like el microondas, it ends in an S, lavaplatos ends in an S. El lavaplatos, because it washes dishes, more than one of them, a whole bunch of them. So we always leave the platos part plural. El lavaplatos, and that's the name for the device. Okay.
Marilyn,
Sí,
question.
sí,
If you
sí,
were
dime.
going- If you're going shopping and walked in and said, I want to look at microwave ovens, plural.
All of
what
them.
would you say?
Yeah. ¿Cómo se dice? Quiero ver los microondas. Los. We just changed the L of microondas to los microondas. And it's like that for any noun that ends in an S, like that. So los microondas would mean all of them, because yes, you want to look at all of them. You're just not going to take any old microondas, right? You want to look at them all. Or los lavaplatos, all the washing or dishwashers, all the dishwashers. There are some verbs, or not verbs, there are some nouns like that in Spanish that end in S. Actually, even the word for umbrella is paraguas, paraguas, because it stops water. And umbrellas, like if there are a bunch of them, would be los paraguas, but one is el paraguas. So there are some nouns like that. In Spanish, that end in an S, it's just an odd function of the way they work. Because we're talking about, it's a whole bunch of waves that cook it, or you stick a whole bunch of dishes in this machine, or your umbrella stops all kinds of drops of water. El paraguas. So there are nouns like that. Okay. ¿Qué vas a usar? So what I want to do is to send you off into some smaller groups and gives you some time to devise or create some ideas and talk about what you're going to use. And I want you to take these as personal questions for you one-on-one. ¿Qué vas a hacer? ¿Qué vas a usar? ¿Qué vas a preparar? ¿Qué vas a cocinar? So I want you to use these big items to talk about what you're going to do, right? Whether you're going to chop things, bake things, fry things, what you're going to do. ¿Qué vas a usar? What are you going to use? These are just sample questions. You know, you don't have to take them in line as uno, dos, tres, 1, 2, 3. What are you going to use? And you're going to use the items. So I'm going to give you another look at that. Ooh, wow, my keyboard's going a little crazy on me. What are you going to prepare? And I want you to use the voy a. I'm going to. I'm going to wash dishes. I'm going to cut vegetables. I'm going to cook meat, whatever it is that you're going to do. ¿Qué vas a cocinar? What are you going to cook? So you may want to use any of these, but you're going to finish, you're going to create some sentences that will all be voy a, I'm going to. And you're going to rearrange them to talk about the items above, what you're going to use. Voy a, por ejemplo, for example, I might say, voy a usar el cuchillo para cortar la cebolla. I'm going to use the onion to cut. I'm going to use the knife to cut onion. Voy a usar el cuchillo para cortar la cebolla, right? Voy a usar la nevera para mis huevos. I'm going to use the fridge for my eggs, right? So we want you to use these as loose ideas, but everything will start with a voy a. Voy a, I'm going to use, voy a usar, voy a preparar, and now talk about what you're going to prepare. Voy a cocinar, and now talk about what you're going to cook. But use these questions as a real general guideline. But voy a, I'm going to do something with these items, right? So we want to talk about using, I want you to try to use at least 5 or 6, 5 or 6, 5 or 6 of these items. Bien? Now I cannot send this picture out to you in the breakout rooms because I want you to do this in small groups. So if you need to write down any of these items, if you haven't done so beforehand, maybe scribble down at least 5 items that you know you're going to use today. And I'll give you about 5, 7, maybe 7 minutes to talk. I want to put you into groups of about 3. ¿Está bien? And everybody should talk about voy a usar, or, you know, I'm going to cook. Voy a usar la estufa. I'm going to use the stove top for whatever it is that you're going to cook, what you're going to use today. ¿Está claro? Is that clear? ¿Sí? ¿Sí? Yeah. Okay. Can I take this stop share off so that you've got enough of these words written down? ¿Sí? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to create some groups for you to go out and talk. ¿Cuántos somos? Quizás 5. I think we need maybe about 5 groups. You'll be in rooms of either 2 or 3 people. Oh, okay. See. Hey, 2 or 3 people. I'll give you about 5, 7 minutes, and we'll bring you on back and see what kind of questions you had, if there were things that you stumbled over a little bit. So remember, I'm going to open this up. You're going to have to hit the join button. Okay? Okay, here comes your join button. Set my timer. Make sure I don't leave you off there too long. Oh, Cindy, do I not have you in a room? Okay. Muy bien, aquí vienen. Here comes everybody.
Larry was very patient with me.
Ah, muy bien.
The cat is back.
Larry es buena persona. Larry is a great guy. Claro, que es una persona muy paciente. Of course, he's a really patient person. Okay, a ver. Bueno, esperamos a unos más. We're waiting for just a few more. I remember I have a very full screen to look at to see who's all back. This is one of the things I never can quite understand about Zoom. Sometimes I know there's a little lag between when some people get that join button and some people get it right away, and for some people it doesn't appear for a little while. So I have to wait. I have to wait a little bit myself. Okay, and it will put you on mute, so you may want to take yourselves off of mute unless you've got background noise, of course. Muy bien. Okay, vale. ¿Tienen preguntas? What kind of questions do you have coming off of that practice?
Oh, that was good.
Algo? Nada? Anything?
Yeah, well, I have a question here.
Okay.
We're talking about what I make and stuff like it. I said that voy a usar la nevera para té helado de limoncello, but Diane
yummy.
said that I don't think that's the right word for lemongrass. Iced tea lemongrass. So what is the iced tea
I will
lemongrass?
have to
So,
look up
and Jeff
lemon.
told me it's the air de limon.
Lemongrass is one of those things I don't use a lot, so I will even have to look it up because, as I don't know all the words in an English dictionary either, because I don't. Hierba de limón. Oh, there are a bunch of words
Hierba.
depending on where you are. Lemongrass. Aquí viene, here it comes. Hierba de limón. Hierba is grass. Hierba de limón.
Hierba de limón is herbs.
Or citronella, that makes sense. Citronella. In Mexico, in Mexico, limoncillo, and I'm going to write that
limoncillo.
down. Limoncillo.
Oh.
In Mexico, that is apparently a very common one. Limoncillo.
So limoncillo, Diane. So I was pronouncing the wrong way.
Malojillo, that one, wow, I've never heard that word before, but that looks like Venezuela, and that's probably why, because I don't know a whole lot of people from Venezuela. So limoncillo, citronella, hierba de limón. There you go.
Okay.
And I will tell you, actually, this is a good moment. Food words in particular vary a lot in Spanish from one country to another, sometimes from one region to another, because some countries have whole kinds of foods that don't exist in other places, or they use different words for it. So like in Colombia, what we call lemon, they often use lima for it. So yeah, food words are especially notorious, really notorious. Different countries will use different words for certain kinds of things, especially vegetables and fruit. Meat, maybe not so much, but and one of the big jokes in the Latino community is that there are probably like 6 or 7 different ways to say popcorn. And yeah, popcorn, like, they're like, seriously, you use that word? We know, I wouldn't even know what that word is. So it's just one of those things. Es buena pregunta, good question. Okay, hay más.
Now I know.
Sí, Cindy, dime.
Yes, I answered the question, what are you going to prepare? And I extended it a little bit, and I'm kind of wrong, but let's figure out how we can make it right. Yo voy a cortar los vegetales con el cuchillo. Entonces, and I'm trying to say, and then I put them in the pot. So is it los pongo en la olla?
Los meto. Ooh, let's look at these two verbs. Qué buena pregunta, Cindy. Hay dos verbos.
Poner.
Hay dos verbos que quieren decir put. Oh, there are two verbs that if you look them up and then in a general way, these both mean put, but they're a little bit different. Y voy a demostrar. I'm going to demonstrate. Voy a demostrar. Momento.
All right. Not-
Momento.
Cindy, did she pay you to ask that question right now?
No, pero es muy buena pregunta. Es muy buena pregunta. Ok, por ejemplo, poner. Oh, pongo la taza en la mesa. Pongo la taza en la mesa. I'm putting my
Pongo
cup.
la taza en la mesa.
Pongo.
On the table.
Pongo. I'm putting it. Pongo es la forma para yo. It's also an oddball one for yo. Oh, how terrible. Pongo. I know you would think this should be pono, right? But it's not. It's oddball for yo. Pongo. No puedo beber. No puedo tomar. I can't take this now. Pongo la taza en la mesa. I'm putting it down, right? Sí, pero. Voy a meter
Into.
meter en el envase, in this container. So meter is to put something
Into something.
inside of something else.
Mm.
Now, you could use, if Cindy, if you're going to use, you could use poner, or you could use meter, but meter is a little more accurate because olla is a great big
Pot.
vessel, right? Yeah. So you know what? Meter is
Meter.
probably a little bit better because you're putting it inside of something
Lo
else.
meto.
Okay. For example, if I'm going to say, tengo mi celular, and I'm going to put it in my pocket, aquí voy a meterlo en el bolsillo. Voy a meterlo because it's fitting inside. Meter is better. Pero, no voy a meterlo en el bolsillo. No. Voy a ponerlo en la mesa. I'm going to put it on top of the table. So if you're just setting something down somewhere, poner is a better verb. If you are putting something inside of something else, meter is a better verb.
Does
Thank
it
you.
conjugate normally? Does it conjugate?
Meter perfectamente normal. Meto, metes, mete, metemos, normal. Poner solamente irregular para yo. Meter is only, or poner, poner is only irregular for yo in present. In present, en presente. Poner does very odd things in the past. Totally bizarre, weirdo stuff. Poner will not look like poner for the past. Like, hey, did he put his shoes on? Did he put his shoes on? It's gonna be se puso. Los zapatos, I know, but en presente, in present, it's perfectly normal except for yo. Yo is pongo with a G-O, like tango has a G-O. Oh, there are a whole bunch of verbs that do some odd go things. We'll take a look at some more of those this spring. That is a good thing for us to do. But meter y poner, different nuances with put, right? Okay. Muy buena, qué buena pregunta. What good questions you have. Okay, ¿qué más? What else? Hay más preguntas. Anything else about the food prep thing? Sí o no?
No.
No, nada. Okay. Bueno, we're going to take a break here and see. I want to do a little transition. Anything from your reading? Do you have any little questions? I want to reserve. I don't know. I'm
Sí.
not sure how long it will take. You may have a lot of things you read that made perfect sense. You have no questions. You may have
Sí.
things where it's like, oh, I've got 5 questions.
Tengo
Depende, it
tres
really depends.
preguntas.
So whatever reading it is you have, whether it's the, I'm turning my, Escape Cubano, or I think the other one is Pobre Ama, right? Whatever little questions you had from vocabulary use or structures, go ahead and tell me. Do keep in mind with these simple stories, quite often there are times when I read it, and to me, I mean, they're like Dick and Jane books. So sometimes if you were to read, you know, like a real newspaper article or hear news, they might use a different term. They sometimes use some vocabulary that is more cognate oriented, a word that you're likely to recognize. But aside from that, bueno,
Una
¿cuáles
pregunta.
son okay, Nora, dime.
Page 11. Tengo que hablar con Fabio. Why do they have que? Why isn't it just, I have to talk with Fabio? Because it sounds like I have that to talk with Fabio.
It does sound like that. Okay, and make sure you got your chat box turned on, because I've got in that. Tengo que hablar. Tengo que hablar. I have to talk. The word que has many, many meanings in Spanish, and it's totally, totally context driven. Que can mean many things. Momentito, I've got to get my my Spanish keyboard up.
Or does it mean I have to talk to him about that?
Yeah, tengo que hablar, I have to. Okay, tengo que with an infinitive, always. Tengo que with an infinitive. If I'm going to match up tener with a second verb, these two verbs are going to be talk. It's not like I have a cup and I'm talking. No, I have to talk. We're pairing up the idea of have to talk to give the idea of obligation, right?
Okay.
Tener is used with the second verb to convey obligation. Have to,
Okay.
have to. And normally when I've got, well, now I'm not going to say normally because it really, really varies a lot. When I have 2 verbs working together to talk about one action, like I have to talk, I can talk, I want to talk, I'm going to talk. That second verb always stays as just
escarpment. I have to escape too.
Have to escape, right. Tener, when we use tener with a second verb to talk about obligation, what one must do, it just has to have that word que.
Okay.
And the word, if you translate it, that word que means nothing at all.
Like
It
with
translates,
boya.
right, like boya, like
Okay.
boya. Ir needs the word a, tener just needs the word que. It just has to be there.
Okay.
And there's no reason for it. Well, there's some reason. It's buried in 1,000 years of usage.
Okay.
So, there you go. Tener needs the word que. Like ir needs the word a. It just has to be there. Pero es buena pregunta. Okay, Juanita, you've got another question.
Actually, tengo 3 preguntas.
Okay, dime.
Is that okay?
Oh, sí, claro, sí.
Okay, so.
Por eso están aquí. That's why you're here.
Del escape cubano.
Okay, okay.
Página 9.
Página 9, sí.
Entro en silencio porque estoy enojado. Why is enojado? Why is not enojo? Because it's coming from enojar, right?
Sí, it's coming. Oh, well, okay. Entro en silencio. Léeme, por favor, toda la frase. Read it, and I'm going to type it out for everybody. Entro en silencio. Otra vez.
¿Por qué estoy
Porque
Enojada.
estoy enojado. Ok. Entro en silencio porque estoy enojado. There's the whole sentence, right? ¿Sí? ¿Correcto?
Sí.
Correcto.
Sí.
Okay. And why is that word enojado? That word is enojado because that word enojado is an adjective. I am angry.
Ah,
Enojar. Enojado is the form that is an adjective. It means angry. Okay. But that general stem could be a noun. Enojo is a noun. Anger.
Enojo.
Like English, we have angry is an adjective. Anger is a noun. Now the word enojo means anger. Okay. Por ejemplo, el enojo que me siento es muy fuerte. The anger that I feel is very strong. Okay, well, that sounds kind of formal, right? You know, if you're just talking with people, you're more likely to say, not the anger I have is deep within me, but you know, that's something you're going to read, right? Estoy muy enojada. Estoy muy enojada. And there is even a different form of that word. It morphs into a verb. And the verb form of that same word is enojar. Enojar is to anger, like to anger someone else, to cause anger. Or even it changes into this. It changes into this, enojarse, which means to get that way, to get mad. Por ejemplo, me enojo, and now I need a me in front of it because I get into a certain state. So I know we said we sometimes often skip the yo part, and we do, but when I put a me in front of it, it becomes me enojo, I get mad. Me enojo cuando nadie limpia el baño. It gets me mad when nobody cleans the bathroom. Me enojo cuando nadie lava los cuchillos. It gets me mad when nobody washes out the knives. Me enojo cuando nadie lava la ropa. It gets me mad when nobody washes the clothes. Me enojo makes it into, I get myself into this state of Eso es. Ok, más preguntas.
Página 11.
Sí, sí.
Hay dos preguntas.
Ok.
Fabio tiene 13 años y es mi mejor amigo. What is the S over here? So I don't understand why you have, what is that? What is the function of that? The
And
IS?
they gave a name, right? Tiene 13 años y es mi mejor amigo.
He's my best friend.
Right? See, they gave a name in front of tiene, right?
Oh, okay.
Do they have a name in front of tiene?
Yes, Fabio.
Fabio, perdón. Fabio tiene 13 años. Fabio is 13 years old.
And
Literally, he has 13 years, but that's the way they say he is 13 years old. They use the years word, but they don't have an old word that they put in there. He has 13 years. Fabio tiene 13 años y es mi mejor amigo. And he's my best friend. We're just connecting two sentences with the word y.
Okay.
Es mi mejor amigo. He is my best friend.
He
I
is.
have
So
to-
S in
right.
here is he is.
And the es means he is.
Okay.
And we don't want to, there's no reason for us to repeat Fabio es, because we know we're talking about Fabio from the
Okay.
first part of the sentence. Okay.
Okay.
Bien.
Gracias.
Okay. Bien. Y
Una
más.
más.
Sí, sí.
¿De qué quieres hablar, Miguel?
Oh, perdón.
¿De qué quieres hablar, Miguel? So why you
Ah.
have to put de there? Can you just use que quieres?
Ah. ¿De qué quieres hablar, Miguel? Means of what you want to speak, Miguel. They need that little word of. If you just want to say, ¿qué quieres hablar? What do you want to speak? What do you want to talk about?
Yeah.
The de is their way of saying about.
Ah.
What do you want to talk about? And that about word won't be about per se. It will be de. Of what do you wish to speak? Y eso es. ¿Ok? ¿Bien?
Gracias.
De nada. Bien. Hay más preguntas. Any other questions from what you read? Anything like odd phrasings that you don't quite get? Or like, why did they use this word? Anything like that?
I have one.
Bien.
On the first page, it says, Hola, Gloria. Digo yo, contento. Digo yo.
Digo yo.
Why does yo come behind digo?
You ever hear people say in English, says I, says I. Digo yo. Digo yo because it's kind of ending up the sentence and they're being kind of emphatic with digo yo. They could have just said digo and left it at that. They're being kind of emphatic by putting the yo in. That's all. Because because the digo is following everything else, quite often the word order gets reversed a little bit. So if you include the human being you're talking about, it'll often follow that adjective. It's just an odd thing they have. Well, I don't want to say odd, it's what they do.
Okay.
Así es, así es. Por ejemplo, I'm going to give you another example of like when this kind of thing, you might hear the words switch order. Here's another example when you might hear something like this. Nos sentamos. Nos sentamos means we sat down. Nos sentamos, and I'm connecting two ideas here. So this digo yo with the subject coming after the verb kind of happens in this sort of a sentence also. Nos sentamos, here's the first sentence. It could stand by itself. Nos sentamos cuando, when. Nos sentamos cuando empezó la película. We would say in English, we sat down when the movie began. And we would say when the movie began, but they're much more likely to say in Spanish, when began the movie. Because I'm introducing a second idea, a second activity with that word cuando. Cuando empezó la película, it is much more likely after that word cuando that the verb will come up first and then the thing we're talking about. It's just, it's a word order thing that is common. Okay. Bien. And I won't always have a good reason why. It's just this happens. Sadly, yeah, that's it. Okay. ¿Hay más? ¿O no?
No.
¿Nada? Okay. Quiero presentarles, I want to introduce to you an idea now that will be a new idea. And you may want to review a specific verb in your book here and just the verb. Sadly, this topic as a bigger topic is not in this book, and I've never been able to figure out why it's not in this book because it is kind of a simple topic. Pero en la página 15, on page 15, you've got the forms for the verb estar. The verb estar. Wow, that's going way back when. The verb estar, to be. And you learned that estar is used for how you feel and where you are. Always use the verb estar. This is another common use for estar. So if you want to review the forms of estar, they're way back on that page 15, but the structure using estar will not sadly be in there. But we are going to take kind of a, this is going to sound like a roundabout way of getting to this topic, but it's not. And there is a method to my madness. We're going to take a look at kind of a bigger topic of just verbs in general, how we use verbs in Spanish. And this is a little video that is going to talk about, we probably won't watch the whole video, although I will send you the link for the whole video, but it's talking about the whole idea of talking in the present and this whole thing of, oh my gosh, this verb thing is very confusing. And I want to confirm that I've got the right. Yeah, okay, I'm pretty sure I've got the right one here. Wow, if I don't, I'm going to be sadly disappointed. Just why we, how we conjugate verbs and just a real general introduction to verbs. But then she's going to get into, you're going to see a couple different structures that you don't expect. You expect to say, oh, vivir, I conjugate it as vivo and vives and vive and vivimos and viven, right? But you're going to hear a slightly different way. We still use that verb in the present tense, maybe, and a different kind of structure. But this is a good general thing about verbs.
Admítelo. We've all tried to memorize Spanish verb tenses only to end up in an actual conversation going, should I use pretérito now or pretérito perfecto, or what was the difference again?
And actually, you won't have that.
Haven't even started conjugating the verb yet. Result, brain meltdown and you're completely tongue-tied. And your conversation partner is staring at you in confusion, not understanding what's going on. Frustrating, right? So, wouldn't it be nice to have a quick overview of Spanish tenses in your head that allows you to speak without having to think about all these rules so fluent sentences just roll off the tongue? Say no more. That's exactly what you'll have after watching this video. We'll walk you through conversations in Spanish where you need different tenses and show you the thought process you'll have while speaking Spanish. It'll be really easy to choose the right tense every single time without having to think about conjugation tables, of course. Number 1, present tense. Most conversations start in the present, right? So let's start with this first. ¿Para qué se usa? Basically, to talk about hábitos y rutinas as well as things that are always true. So, when you first meet someone, the conversation starts, and one of the first things they ask you is, ¿Cómo te llamas? They're using the present tense, and they're asking about something that is always true, your name.
So now, I want to caution you, it's kind of important that she's saying something that is always true, but to those of us in English, that sounds like a weird thing. Why would you say it's always true? Of course it's true. What's your name? But there is a different mood in Spanish that does talk about actions that are not true, meaning things that are not actually happening. So that's why she says that, just so that you know. But present tense is to talk about things in the present. And we're going to expand a little bit about different ways that you can use present tense after we see a portion of this video, okay?
So you should respond using the same tense. Me llamo Mariana. Mi nombre es Mariana.
So those are just two ways. They're the same. You're conveying the same information. They're just two different ways to convey the same information. And you're using present right now because you're not going to say my name was, past, my name is, right? See, okay. Presente, present. We're saying in the present.
Another question often made in conversations is, ¿De dónde eres? Your response will be in the present tense because it is an absolute truth that you are from the US, the UK, Australia, or Nigeria. Soy de los Estados Unidos. Soy australiana.
And either one of the, to say soy with a nationality is right. To say soy de and name the country is also right. Often there's more than one way to respond, but here we had to use soy because I am either from a country or I am a nationality.
Vengo del Reino Unido.
And you could even use vengo del, I come from. You could even use that. That would also be a correct way to respond because we can use any of those ideas.
Yet another question is, ¿qué haces en tu tiempo libre?
What do you do in your free time? ¿Qué haces en tu tiempo libre? What do you do? And that haces literally means what do you do? And we really get rid of the do because you plug in whatever it is that you do, which is way more specific, right? I read, I sew, I paint, I play an instrument, right? Whatever it is that you do, you plug in. So a whole new verb has to go in there to replace that haces in the question, a whole different verb, because you have to get specific, right?
In this case, we're talking about routines or habits, right? So again, we need the present tense. Me gusta caminar. Suelo leer un libro. A veces veo una película.
So any of these are okay. Me gusta, we're going to come back to that verb gustar because some of you hadn't really had gustar. And there are a whole bunch of verbs like gustar. Me gusta caminar. She could have said camino, I walk, right? Suelo leer just means I usually read. You could just say leo libros, leo libros. That would be just conjugating the verb. Or a veces, sometimes, and that's just a frequency marker. A veces, sometimes, veo una película, I watch. And veo really means I see, but in most countries they use veo for watching also, like movies or TV.
Chunk alert. A veces is a perfect example of a chunk, a fixed word combination native speakers use all the time. Since it will never change, you can just learn a veces de memoria. Now, another question people might ask you is, Hola, ¿qué estás haciendo?
And here's what we're going to study today. ¿Qué estás haciendo? What are you doing? They phrased it here as what are you up to, but it means what's going on with you right now. ¿Qué estás haciendo? And you have never seen that particular combination before. So we're going to take a closer look at that really, really soon. Es muy fácil usar. It's very easy to use, but it's going to have a specific meaning, a meaning that is more specific in Spanish than it is in English.
In this case, you have two options. Bueno, veo un video de Spring Spanish.
That's an okay way to answer. Veo un video. I'm watching a video.
Estoy viendo un video de Spring Spanish.
Estoy viendo is also correct. Wait a minute. They both say I'm watching.
Veo un video.
I'm watching. Veo. Right? Veo. I'm watching.
Video de Spring Spanish. Estoy viendo un video de Spring Spanish.
Wait a minute. It also says I'm watching. Momentito. Wait a minute. Those are not the same thing. Veo and estoy viendo. Veo and estoy viendo. They are not the same thing. Well, they're not, and they are. We're going to come back to that in a quick minute.
Both translate as I'm watching a Spring Spanish video. The difference is that the first sentence, veo un video de Spring Spanish, is in the present tense. while the second sentence, estoy viendo un video de Spring Spanish, is in the present progressive.
And present progressive is what we're going to learn, and it uses estar. But we're going to show you how it works together with that. Wait a minute, what's that viendo thing?
The present progressive is not used as often in Spanish as it is in English.
The present progressive is not used as often in Spanish as it is in English. We throw it around in English in lots of senses, and it's going to mean something much more specific in Spanish than it does in English.
In Spanish, it is used only to talk about algo que está pasando en este preciso momento.
Okay, so here's what I want you to keep in mind. When you say, I am working, they are working, she is working. In Spanish, when you use that specific structure of is working, the ing thing, it means it's happening in real time while we're speaking. In English, it doesn't always mean that. You might say, well, gee, I'm working in a few hours. I'm working on that in a few hours. Somebody says, did you get to that project? I'm working on that in a few hours. I'm working on that in a few hours. Is it happening right now? No, but we use I'm working on that in a few hours. We use I'm working present progressive, even though it isn't happening right now. In Spanish, if I say I'm working, it's got to be
Real.
this is happening while I'm talking. It's a nuance they have in Spanish that we don't have in English. So on the other hand, it is something that you hear people using quite a lot, because if they really are talking about something that is happening right now, it's a useful structure to be able to understand and to use yourself.
To format, you need the verb estar in the present tense, estoy, plus the Spanish version of ing verbs, ando and yendo. For example, estoy comiendo.
Here's an example. Estoy comiendo. I'm, well, eating, having lunch. She has that as having lunch, but yeah, I'm eating.
Estoy dando clase.
I'm giving classes, teaching class. She could also say estoy enseñando.
Right here, right now, that's what I'm doing. No.
Okay, so we're going to stop there because we only want to look at the present tense part of this. Okay, only the present tense part. We're going to take a quicker look at how we use this. Es fácil. It is very easy to use, and you do hear people using it. And it really is not hard to understand how to use. It's an easy structure to learn how to use. Es muy obvio. So I'm going to give you this little primer. And you don't need to take notes on this because you're going to get the whole file to look at your leisure and copy or print or do whatever you want to do with it. Presente progresivo. I should have my first slide. Presente progresivo. Who thinks about that after the third grade? Nobody. Nobody thinks about that once you're out of grammar school. But present progressive means in Spanish, it is used only to talk about what really is happening right now while that person is speaking in real time. So think real time. Okay. Okay. There is no implied future. Like I'll be working on that in a couple of hours. Okay. We say that in English and it really means future. In Spanish, I am working won't mean future or in a little while. It'll mean doing it now. Okay. So estoy manejando a la oficina. I'm driving to the office. That means it's going on while I'm hopefully on the hands-free phone, right? Otherwise you get a ticket. In English, you might say I'm driving to work tomorrow. But you can't use that structure in Spanish for that meaning. Okay, it's got to be happening while I'm talking. But how to form it and how to use it. But we do use it because sometimes you want to say, wow, I'm eating right now. You know, maybe somebody calls you and you can't talk to them right now. I am eating right now. You mean it's happening right now. And that is what you want to say. So here's how we use it. Es muy fácil. It's a two-word combo. It's a two-word combo. Just like you say, I am speaking, I am eating, I am working. You're going to have the I am part. And here's the I am part, or the you are part, or the we are part, or the they are part. It is estar, and it's that simple. And the only part of this that you ever conjugate is the estar part. That's the only part you conjugate. So it's estoy if I'm doing it. It's estás if you're doing it. It's está if one person, he or she, is doing it. It's estamos if we are all doing it. It's estáis only in Spain for the plural of tú, and it's están for they are doing it. So all you got to know how to do it is conjugate estar. Yay! I know how to conjugate estar. Muy fantástico. Es tan fácil. It's so easy. Estoy, estás, está, estamos, están. That's the only part that gets conjugated. Well, wait a minute though. I need a second verb because I want to maybe say, I am opening. Here's the part that becomes opening. Or you want to say, I am eating. And this is the part that becomes the ing. Or maybe you want to say, look at that kid. He is running across the park. This becomes the ing. Or maybe you want to say, those people, they are boozing it up way too much. And here's the boozing it up. Or maybe, oh, you know what? Hey, look, the plane is coming in right now. So this second verb is what is going to become the ing. Okay? Vale. So here's what happens with the ing part. The equivalent of the ing is very easy to form. Okay? And it will always be an ing. It will never be like a yo form or a tu form or the estar does that workhorse part, right? The estar part tells you who's doing the action. And this ing part will always be a constant form. So AR verbs get this, what we would call it, a suffix. Ando, ando, there's your ing. You take off the AR, you slap on an ando. So estudiar becomes estudiando, right? Hablar becomes hablando. Tomar becomes tomando. Viajar becomes viajando. Escuchar becomes escuchando. Pagar becomes pagando. Bueno. So I really only use estudiar in the structure to say, you know, off screen, mija, maybe my daughter asks me, ¿Qué haces, mamá? ¿Qué haces? Oh, estoy estudiando. Estamos estudiando. We are studying because we're doing it right now. But if somebody asks, do you study Spanish? And you want to say, well, I'm studying Spanish right now. It'll be, you know, if I'm not studying at this moment, but I've been studying for a while, estudio español, I'm studying Spanish, meaning in general, I'm doing it a lot, fine. But estoy estudiando is used because we are in class right now. And I want to tell her as she's working in the kitchen, estamos estudiando, we are studying because it's happening now. But if you just say to somebody, I'm studying Spanish, like in general, this is a habit, it's something I'm doing in general. But you know, we're having a coffee right now. I'm actually not doing the studying right now. Then it's estudio español. ¿Entienden la diferencia? Do you understand the difference? We got to be talking about it in real time to use this. Okay, so AR verbs use the ando thing for the ing part, right? The estar does the workhorse part of the conjugation. And the ando stays constant no matter who does this action. For ER and IR verbs, they will share the same thing to do ing. As you can imagine, they cannot be ando because they're ER and IR verbs, so they'll become yendo, yendo. So the ing part will become yendo. I take off the ER, I take off the IR, and comer becomes comiendo, eating. Vivir becomes viviendo. Escribir becomes escribiendo. Vender becomes vendiendo. Correr becomes corriendo. Hacer becomes haciendo. Okay, so those are the ing sections. Son fáciles. It's pretty easy to form. So here are some examples. What does it sound like when we put estar conjugated together with the ando or the yendo? They sound like this. Estoy tomando un café con mis amigos. I'm having a coffee with my friends. And that means that, you know, somebody interrupted me with a phone call and they said, what are you doing? Oh, claro, sí, estoy tomando un café. I'm doing this while I'm on the phone with you. Okay? Bien? Vale? Okay, but if I want to say I'm having a coffee tomorrow with my friends, I will not say estoy tomando. Then it's mañana tomo un café. Mañana tomo un café. ¿Entienden? Understand the difference? So we're talking real time versus I'll do it soon. That I'll do it soon won't be estoy tomando. Okay? No podemos hablar. Estamos abordando el avión ahora. No podemos hablar. No podemos hablar. We cannot talk. Estamos abordando. We're getting on right now. It's happening. I got to get off the phone, right? Estamos abordando means we're doing it right now. Estamos abordando, we are boarding. Real time. El hombre está vendiendo tacos. The man is selling tacos. Wow, where'd you get those tacos? ¿Dónde compraste? Where'd you buy that? Oh, está vendiendo tacos. He's selling stuff right now, right? You could go down and get some yourself. Está vendiendo tacos. He's doing it right now. Está lloviendo. It's raining. Está vendiendo, está lloviendo. It's got to be happening while I'm talking for me to say that. Está lloviendo, está lloviendo. It's raining. It's happening now, right? Estoy sorprendida. I'm surprised. So, bien, está lloviendo. Llover means to rain. Está lloviendo. It is raining. If it is raining right now while I'm speaking to you, that's the phrase we use to say it's raining. Okay. If I want to say it rains in the spring or it rains in the winter, I don't use está lloviendo. I use llueve. It rains. But we can use this present progressive to say it's happening right now. There are a few odd verbs. Some of you who are in the returning group, you may want to kind of know those. Those of you who are in the beginning group, I would say don't worry about this slide too much. There are a few oddball verbs in the ando, yendo group, a few, but not a whole lot. There are only a few. There are some of these stem changing ones that are the IR stem changing. So those of you who are newbies to the group, I would say don't worry about irregular present participles because you probably won't need them that much. Also, please know there's some that get spelling changes, but it doesn't really change the way you pronounce the word. So again, this is a thing for writing, but not for speaking. Okay, so just know that in writing, there are some verbs because they have a double E or a UEI. Instead of saying iendo, I-E-N-D-O, they get a Y-E-N-D-O. But it's a spelling thing. It sounds the same. So you don't need to worry about it. Okay? Bien? And if we have a pronoun, it'll come in front of estar or be attached to the ando yendo. And that's getting a little bit deeper into the weeds than you need to know. So those of you who are a little advanced, you'll want to look at the later things here, and the rest of you do not. Okay, so some of those slides you can skip. There is one thing I want you to know about this ing word. This ing word. Sometimes in English, we use the ing word as a noun, like cooking is fun, right? If you don't, like, okay, por ejemplo. So do look at this last slide. If people don't like running, but they do it just because it's healthy, but they don't really enjoy it, they might say running is boring. They might say cooking is fun. They might say, I don't like cleaning. And they're really using that ing word in English as an activity. Running, the activity is boring, or cooking, the activity is fun, or cleaning, the activity, don't like it, okay?
Annoying.
But yeah, but if you want to use this idea in Spanish, we can't use the ando, yendo word to do it. We can't use ando or yendo in this noun context, in this activity context. We go back to the infinitive. So that means the AR, the ER, the IR. So if you want to say the idea of running is boring, it looks like, and it sounds like this. Correr es aburrido. Running is a bore. Cocinar es divertido. Cooking is fun. No me gusta limpiar. I don't like cleaning. I don't like to clean. So if you want to use the ing idea in English as an activity, as a noun, we have to plug it in as the whole infinitive. Unchanged. No conjugations, no ando, no yendo, nothing like that. Bien? Okay, vale? Are we good with that? See? Okay. What I'm going to send you off with, actually, I'm going to see if there is a self-correcting page on the internet somewhere that uses that. If there is, I will find it for you and include it in the email. I am going to include a very good video for you to review that idea. So that will be in the email, and I will include some practice questions for you to use this next week in small groups. Okay. These will be questions that will be geared towards, well, just using this, putting it into use for how we really use this present progressive. Estar and an ando verb, estar and an yendo verb, okay, in a conversational setting. And there'll be questions that you can use and kind of prep ahead to practice how to use that, speaking together in smaller groups. Make sense? See? So you'll get a video with it, and then you'll get some sample questions for you to prep using that for speaking next week. ¿Está bien?
Está bien.
Magnífico. Okay, vale. Eso es todo. And read another chapter in whichever book it is that you have, and come prepared with some questions for that. And I think we will also, because this is generally an easy thing for people to pick up and be able to use, we're going to go through a review of how to use the like, the gustar verb, how to express that you like things, or you really love things, or you really can't stand things, certain verbs that use the same structure, and to talk about what we enjoy doing or what we really don't enjoy doing, or what matters to us. We're going to take some sample verbs that are used the same way to talk about what matters to us, what we like, what we enjoy, what we don't like, and throw that in as an extra practice for conversation. ¿Está bien?
Sí.
Bueno, entonces nos vemos la semana que viene. We'll see you next week. Quick reminder that registration for summer is on already. So website is easy. Yeah, registration for summer is on. It started today at 8 a.m. And so if you want to register for any and all classes, easiest place to do that is online. You know, you can call them, but you'll probably be on hold waiting, which why would you want to do that when you can go online and do it way faster? Or of course, you probably could do it in person. Do you really want to do that? Do it online, way easier. Más fácil, okay?
So what if we wanted to do, so what is the next step that we need to get?
Oh, same thing.
Step 2?
Same class.
Okay.
Same class. See, yeah, don't go to a different class. Same one.
All right.
Monday morning, 9:30. Same old, easy.
Okay.
Okay? Vale,
Sí,
magnífico.
vale.
Eso es todo. Nos vemos la semana que viene, ¿verdad?
Sí, sí.
Gracias.
Hasta luego.
De nada, es un placer. It is a pleasure.
Voy a recibir mi segunda inyección de mi vacuna.
Okay.
Good luck.
Okay.
Wish me luck.
Bien.